thank God for AI generated music, because I was trying to fix the issue there for a couple of minutes there. I'll have to do it afterwards because it was working yesterday, but I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of a glitch between Restream and um, and Twitch, because even though I like to even though I like to even though I stream on the Bleacher Brothers channels as well, I like to stream on my Twitch so I can draw people in so I can get to affiliate status. And unfortunately, it's not working tonight. So I'll be tinkering with things tomorrow. Hopefully I can get things to work again. So I don't know what's going on, because I thought at first it was just my stream elements being down, because at the beginning of the show, you'll get what the title of the thing is. And the first sign was that that the title didn't change. So after that, I'm like, all right, well, let me check stream elements. Let me try socials. That worked. So I'm like, all right, well, I look, the Bleacher Brothers Twitch and my Twitch were not working. So as a result, something's going on with Twitch, and I'll worry about that tomorrow. So, so tonight, I welcome those on my YouTube at youtube.com/JoeQuills. I don't necessarily stream on there. I stream on there on Saturdays, but not on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. But I guess I'll be tinkering a little bit, and it is what it is. So just one of those days, and whatever's causing the issue I have that I can't get on Twitch tonight. So anyways, hope everybody's doing well out there. Obviously better than me with my lack of tech savviness and all that. So, but we'll be back. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Back at it on Saturday. So hopefully things will work on Saturday. But it is what it is. So I'll tinker with that and we'll get it fixed. So also, hope you enjoyed the new background, the new wallpaper I have there. AI is a wonderful thing. In some cases, it's also horrible, because when it's horrible, it takes jobs away. But for something like this, hey, something that I can use from time to time here, and I can change it out every once in a while when I'm in one of my moods and all that. So, yeah, changing things up a little bit here, a little bit there. And hopefully you guys will, hopefully you guys like it. But, the thing is, and I'm going to disappear for a second, but the audio, you'll still hear me. Yeah, they didn't put the Sixers in there, but they put the Phillies twice for whatever reason. They put the Eagles, they put the Flyers. They got the Liberty Bell there. They got a football there. They got a basketball, but where's the Sixers logo? But yeah, it's good enough for me. So coming up, we'll talk about the whole BS with Tom Brady. I mean, not Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. A couple of, as a result, some of these voters have had to come out and say, I voted for him, I did not vote for him. I'll give thoughts on that. We at least know what the teams are going to be wearing for the Super Bowl. I'll give you a hint, it's Nike. Because you know how, like, you have the award show, it's like, what are you wearing tonight? Oh, I'm wearing this. Like, if you see my Facebook and my Twitch, and I remember to post something like this to get a laugh. Oh, what are you wearing tonight? Oh, I'm wearing Nike. I'm wearing Adidas. I'm wearing this. I'm wearing that. That's, just some goofy stuff that I have here. So, and we'll also have some horse racing updates here. Actually, two things that affected AJ today. One was that the town did run today, and we'll get into that. Also, an aqueduct update, and also a Triple Crown update, because a big name so far in the Triple Crown on the Kentucky Derby Trail is out. I'll tell you what happened there as well. So I hope everybody that is in the ice box known as the eastern 2/3 of the United States is staying warm. As you can tell, I'm wearing my sweatshirt tonight because it is really cold. It's going to be the coldest night in Philadelphia in 6 years, if I saw that correctly on my phone. So hopefully everybody's doing well out there. So let's get to it here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have breaking news. This came down a couple of hours ago, and I found this from Tom Pelissero. You know, some may have found it from Adam Schefter, whoever. I found it from Tom Pelissero next, but I actually got the alert. Probably Schefter was the alert on ESPN, but my source, at least in the repost I have, is from Tom Pelissero. And the Eagles have an offensive coordinator, and unfortunately, it is not Jim Bob Cooter. It's Sean Mannion. And I know what some of the people are saying.
Who the fuck is that guy?
And that is because he is 33 years old, just 2 years out of the league as a quarterback, and now he's an NFL offensive coordinator. Now, I did see a couple of interesting things here. Let me see if I can find it here. Now, that's interesting. You know, you get snow like this in the United States, they're canceling. Here in Japan, they're training over it. Eagles Fan Central reports that Sean Mannion will call plays for the Eagles, which would be his first time. And that's per Jeff McLean, who's with the Inquirer, the Philadelphia Inquirer. And I imagine Coach Mannion is going to be calling plays. Sean Mannion is going to be calling plays at the Senior Bowl this week. So I guess he's going to he is going to call some plays here. So we'll see how he does. John Clark. The last time the Eagles hired a quarterback coach from Green Bay, Andy Reid, 27 years ago. Now there's a stat that can win you a beer or two. So, but Andy Reid was hired as a head coach, Sean Mannion as a offensive coordinator, and he's 33 years old. Now, me personally, I would have preferred someone a little bit older. Now, I'm not saying this to discriminate with I'm not going to discriminate when it comes to coaches and age and stuff like that, but the one thing that we have here when we look at everything, what am I looking for here? Oh yeah. So the one thing I said was, one thing I would argue, like for example, and I will say that, you know, when the Eagles brought in the defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, we knew he wasn't going to get another NFL job, or he would even go for another NFL head coaching job, because he was 63 years old at the time, or whatever it was. So when you look at things, I think, in a way, the Eagles are a victim of their success in a way, because it seems like every year they're changing offensive coordinators, and most times defensive coordinators. Um, this year for the offensive coordinator was because Kevin Patullo was ass. But this year, but like for example, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl last season, Kellen Moore went to New Orleans. You can go back 2 years prior. Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen both left, took head coaching jobs. And, I was beginning to wonder, they're going to try to get one of the assistant coaches from New England or Seattle. But, I was wondering that, but I never said anything about that because I just don't want to deal with people saying, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." Well, half the time I don't know what I'm talking about anyway. So, but, I looked at it and I'm like, 33 years old, and I think that he may get more than a year before he gets a head coaching opportunity, which may be good. Or who knows, maybe he gets a head coaching opportunity with the Eagles because, they may tire of Nick Sirianni in a year or two. And thankfully, I did not set my phone or iPad off. So, but yeah, so a lot of what you see, you're seeing these changes, and even though it's not good, but then again, Jalen Hurts is in the league 6 or 7 years now. In a way, it's not good that you're getting you're getting a change yet again to the offensive coordinator job. But I think in a way, a little double advocacy here. In a way, even though you got to learn a whole new offense, you get to understand certain plays and know what's expected of you. But obviously, going to see a different type of offense this year. Hopefully, the Eagles will be making a trip out to LA for next year's Super Bowl, which will be on Valentine's Day. And, and the one thing I will say, if you have an egotistical woman who says, it's me or the Super Bowl, say, bitch, get out of the house. Don't come back. Because, even though this Eagle, well, I would say that even if the Eagles were not in the Super Bowl. But hopefully you have someone who's an Eagles fan that can understand that, hey, we can push it to the 13th. We can push it to the 15th because, oh, by the way, they get a test run over making America soft yet again, is a mock of that other slang, that other slogan. You do have, America is soft, especially because, I have to go to work tomorrow. How am I supposed to get up in the morning? Well, first of all, how about you cut yourself off around halftime and, do whatever. But, I just think that all America does is complain anymore. Even like, for example, I saw, people are complaining, oh, they plowed my car in. Well, what is the plow supposed to do? Well, your car probably shouldn't be there, first of all. It should be, but anyway, but Sean Mannion is taking over the position here. He will be calling plays. He's coached for just 2 years, breaking in as an offensive assistant for the Green Bay Packers in 24 before being promoted to quarterbacks coach this past season. Nick Sirianni said in a statement today, it was quickly apparent in meeting with Sean that he is a bright young coach with a tremendous future ahead of him in the league. I was impressed with his systematic views on offensive football and his strategic approach. Kind of sounds like Andy Reid there with the way what they talked about Andy Reid years ago, or 27 years ago, actually, because, Andy Reid had like notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks that they were talking about. So, Sirianni also says, Sean's 11 years in the NFL provided him a great opportunity to learn from and grow alongside some of the best coaches in the game. As a result, he has a wealth of knowledge and experience that will be invaluable to our team moving forward. Now, as a player, he bounced back and forth between Seattle and Minnesota. I saw that on X tonight. So, I mean, he was playing in 2023 with the Vikings and Seahawks. Though light on experience, Manny is considered a rising star in league circles. This past season, he worked with Jordan Love, who completed 66% of his throws for 3,381 yards and 23 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Jordan Love missed a couple of games. That number seems a little low, but then again, the trend is to run the ball a little bit more recently. Now, the Eagles were initially targeting experienced play callers like Mike McDaniel and Brian Daboll, but they elected to go elsewhere. Leaning toward a veteran offensive coordinator made sense after the offense struggled under Patullo, a first-year play caller in 2024. Well, he wasn't calling plays in 24. He was calling plays in 25. But so the Eagles were prepared to give the new offensive coordinator full autonomy, but it remains to be seen whether that remains true with a hire as inexperienced as Mannion. Sirianni gave up play calling a handful of games into his first season and has stepped into more of a CEO role in recent seasons. Though he got more involved in the offense when he felt it was warranted, including down the stretch last season, and try to elevate a sagging offense. And this is the 5th offensive coordinator that Jalen Hurts will have since he became a full-time starter in 2021. Hurts has publicly stated his desire for a level of consistency as at play caller on multiple occasions, but to this point, it has proved elusive. Now, I'll say this. I think that right now, even though it's not a good thing that you've got a different offensive coordinator every year, and it goes all the way back to when he was in college. And, Brian Daboll was a hot commodity and was one of the top options for the Eagles because he coached Hurts in Alabama for a year. So I'm just thinking that, I'm trying to take the other side on this and thinking, well, even though it's not really a good thing, in a way you learn different schemes. It's just that even though you're kind of flushing out the last season after falling short to the Niners, you realize that, this is how he wants to do it, but I personally think, and I think this may be the case, if the Eagles do well next year and Mannion calls plays and does things on the opposite end of the spectrum than Kevin Patullo, then I think that the Eagles will be in good shape. But the problem is, because he's so young, some people may want to give him at least an interview for the head coaching job. So maybe maybe you realize, oh, we have a slight problem here. But I just think that because he is green at calling plays, hopefully Midnight Green and not Kelly Green, because Kelly Green's god awful. Well, I'd be more in favor of the Kelly Green if they wore the Super Bowl 15 jerseys, but that's a topic for another day. I just think that a lot, I think that Mannion is young enough that if he sticks around for more than a year, it'll be because, okay, well, maybe he gets a couple of interviews, but he's too young. But then again, you look at everything. I mean, you look at Sean McVay, even though he was coaching for a few more years than Mannion has in his coaching career. Sean McVay was, 30 when he got the job? So you got these opportunities, and if you're going to get that opportunity, you take advantage of it. And but you got to realize that maybe maybe we go a little bit younger, because if we go younger, then we may have him take 2 years to groom as a head coach. And I don't know. I'm just But the one thing is, in a way, I'm disappointed as well, because I'm pretty sure that every game, even if they just flash on the screen, because sometimes they flash the play caller on the screen, depending on the network. Because of that, and also because of the fact that, you do have, everything. I'm very disappointed that the Eagles did not hire Jim Bob Cooter. And more than anything else, I was looking forward to naming my fantasy football team this year, especially if I got to draft Jalen Hurts. I was going to name the team Mike Cooter Hurts. But, oh well. So, but, I mean, I guess I'm wait and see on this, because of the fact that, because he's so young. I mean, Kellen Moore was young, but even though he was young, he was with Dallas for a couple of years, and then he was with the Chargers for a year. And we thank the Chargers for cleaning house after Brandon Staley and his Chargers gave up 60-some to the Raiders. We'd like to thank the Chargers for allowing us to have Kellen Moore so we can get another Super Bowl win. But that came with the fact that you did have him go to New Orleans. But I think that I'll reserve my overall opinion until like the middle of the season, when either the Phillies, when the Eagles are scoring 25 to 30 points a game, or they can't do shit again. They can't move the ball down the field like they did this past season. So, but Yeah, so we'll see. I'm going to reserve judgment, but I like that it's a younger pick. In the fact that brings some innovation to this offense, and who knows what happens. But Sean Mannion takes over, and my dream of my football team being named my Cooter Hurts is not going to happen. So we have that locally. Now we're going to expand outward here, and it seems like whoever leaked the whoever leaked the news that Bill Belichick was not going into the Hall of Fame. Now, mind you, other than that, we don't know anything else of who's in, who's out, other than Eli Manning. He didn't make the finals of his group of players, or the recent players that get eligible after 5 years. That's something different because you have a first round, you have a second round, and you have the final round. But it seems like because of what Bill Belichick or one of his people, his PR, his girlfriend, whatever. And by the way, I did see a meme yesterday that, if he waited for 49 years for his girlfriend to be born, I think he can wait another year to go to Hall of Fame. But I just think protocol was breached somewhere. I don't know who, but it seems like we created a shitstorm, and maybe it was Belichick or whoever it is, but it seems like, it just seems like we're getting to the point where maybe we see a whole new system to get into the Hall of Fame, or maybe we even see transparency like we see in Major League Baseball now. But one of the people that came to the defense of Bill Belichick was Tom Brady. And he was on a sports talk show in Seattle. And he was among those that were questioning the snub, because that's exactly what it was. It was probably one of the worst snubs ever. And I'll show you that. No, I lost that listing. No, I have it. Okay. Let me put that over here so I know to find it. Okay. Brady voiced his opinion on the news during an interview with Seattle Sports 7:10 a.m. on Wednesday, one day after ESPN reported that Belichick fell short of the 40 out of 50 votes. Now, I guarantee you we're never going to find out who broke that news to ESPN, because, there's journalism integrity of, if it's an anonymous source, you don't talk about it. But and especially because the NFL and the Pro Football Hall of Fame has their own protocols as well. We'll get to that as well. But Brady said, "I don't understand it. I mean, I was with him every day. He was with them for 20 years. And if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, there's really no coach that should ever be a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is completely ridiculous because people deserve it." Yeah. Especially a guy who's won 6 Super Bowls. Now, mind you, we know about Spygate and Deflategate, and we'll get to that as well. But, even with Spygate and Deflategate, you still have to win that final game, whether you're cheating or not. But Brady also adds, there's no coach I'd rather play for, which is interesting because I don't know. I think it was Dan Patrick with Dan Patrick with Tom Brady, and they said, when both your guys' careers are over, you're gonna get together, have a beer, and all that. No, but he's defending his guy, and he said, if I'm picking one coach to go out there to win a Super Bowl, give me one season. I'm taking Bill Belichick, so that's an upset. The quarterback coach combination of Brady and Belichick famously teamed to lead the Patriots to 6 Super Bowls. Remember, Patriots are going for number 7 next weekend. And they're also going for their 6th loss. I'll remind you of that. And 9 conference championships. He lost twice. He lost twice to Eli Manning, who's not getting into the Hall of Fame this year, and Big Dick Nick Foles. Now, as you remember from Tuesday night, Belichick was described as puzzled and disappointed, on top of other things. Belichick was one of the 5 finalists among coaches, contributors, and senior players. And the thing is, why you have the category like that is a little weird to me, but I digress. In that group of 5 were Robert Kraft. He was the contributor finalist. And he had 3 senior players, Roger Craig, Ken Anderson, and L.C. Greenwood. Let me just see one thing here. And since I'm basically running... Okay. Now, I just wanted to look because L.C. Greenwood did pass away. And I was like, well, how long ago was it? He actually passed away in 2013 at the age of 67. So he was a little bit of an older player. In terms of the Steel Curtain. But he was, he did win he was part of the Steel Curtain defense. I think he's one of the few regular starters of all 4 teams that hasn't gotten into the Hall of Fame in terms of the Steel Curtain. But yeah. But I was wondering if L.C. Greenwood died more recently. And the reason why I say that is, we need to vote him in posthumously. But there's probably a push out there. Hey, we need to have L.C. Greenwood in the Hall of Fame. Kind of like how Dan Patrick on his show a couple of times said, this guy needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, granted, it's just somebody talking about it. It's not like it's, starting a whole movement, But, but it has happened. Tony Baselli got into the Hall of Fame after he kind of campaigned for him, and Brent Musburger. I think he did do or one of them didn't get in, but one has. And I forget which one is which, but you get the idea. Now, Robert Kraft came to Bill Belichick's defense as well. He said, whatever perceptions may exist about any personal differences between Bill and me, I strongly believe Bill Belichick's record and body of work speak for itself. As head coach of New England Patriots for more than 2 decades, he set the standard for on-field excellence, preparation, and sustained success in the free agency and salary cap era of the NFL. He's the greatest coach of our time, and he unequivocally deserves to be unanimous first ballot Pro Football Hall of Famer. So not only just a first ballot Hall of Famer, but unanimous. But Belichick's getting the treatment that some other people have had in the past. And why could he have gotten snubbed? Well, one of the reasons why is because he was implicated in a sign stealing scandal dubbed Spygate in 2007. We all know all about that. And especially when I used to read the New York Post every day, I used to get the digital edition. And even when I would get it like a hard copy, you would see underneath the betting lines, like the Patriots always have an asterisk next to their name, and they would have on there caught cheating. So he was fined $500,000 after their team was caught filming defensive signals from the Jets during the game. One thing they don't mention is a couple of his assistants or scouts or whoever that would somewhere along the chain would report to him, possibly, were filming the Cleveland Browns when they were playing in Cincinnati one game. And I know what you're saying, well, why were they there? Well, New England had Cleveland upcoming in a couple of weeks, so they were doing that. So, and Cincinnati caught them fairly quickly and said, get out. So, but there's no mention of that. Now, Brady becomes eligible for the Hall in 2028. He cited popularity in the world of voting when discussing the snub, but also stressed that Belichick will eventually be enshrined in canon. Brady said, when it comes down to votes and popularity and all that, then welcome to the world of voting. You might as well try out for the Oscars and get a big panel to tell you if you're good or not. It's the way it works, unfortunately. He's going to get into the Hall of Fame. In the end, I'm not worried about that. But, the first time he's eligible, he has to wait. And you're talking about a coach who, warts and all, won 333 games in his career and is only second to Don Shula at 347. Jimmy Johnson and Patrick Mahomes also shared their stunned reactions over the snub. I did not get those quotes, but Jimmy Johnson actually ended up getting interviewed by a couple of outlets. But I mean, when I heard that, I'm like, what? Now, mind you, unlike Major League Baseball, where they do have some sort of a morals clause, and and the writers will say, well, even if they never tested positive for PEDs or whatever, we can't vote him in. We can't vote him in. He was rumored. And also, it was interesting that Carlos Beltran got in to the Baseball Hall of Fame because if you don't remember, Carlos Beltran was the ringleader of the whole Houston Astros cheating scandal. He was the ringleader. So, you know, you got everything that's going on here with Belichick. But this is something that the NFL has done time and time again. I'm going to show you here before I go back to the story here. Some of the people who were snubbed in their first attempt to get into the Hall of Fame. And this is from Fox Sports. Honorable mentions. Curtis Martin, 14,000 yards. And they might have to, and they said the complicated process as well. So there may be something in there with that as well. Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, he was on the Colin Cowherd show. Jimmy Johnson turned the Cowboys into a Super Bowl winner. 1-2 there before he left. Alan Page, 148.5 sacks. Antonio Gates. John Madden. Now here's the top 10. Marvin Harrison. How he didn't get in the first try, I don't know. Let me see something here, because he was, if you don't remember with Marvin Harrison, he had a he has had some legal issues. And he had there was a shooting outside of his garage. And there was a shooting, and the district attorney, Lynn Abraham, who looked like Mrs. Doubtfire, confirmed that the shots at the victim was the same model as Harrison's gun, but said she had been unable to determine who pulled the trigger. Now, I'm not going to get into who pulled the trigger or anything like that, but the thing is, Marvin Harrison had a gun that was really rare. So, and there's interesting stuff that's here on the Wikipedia page there. So, 2019. So the shooting was in 2008. The victim died in 2009. Appears he was shot a second time. But I may be messing some things up here, but I wonder if that had anything to do with him being snubbed. So I'm looking to see here. He was elected in 2016, so he didn't get in for a couple of years. So his last year was in 2008. So his first year was 2014, I believe. So he missed. He didn't even get in on the second ballot apparently. Kevin Green. He ranks 4th in sacks. He had 10 sacks in 10 of those 15 years. Yeah, unfortunately, he passed away in 2020. He got into the Hall of Fame. Trying to see here when he got in. He got into the Hall of Fame in 2016. So he waited a long time as well. Wow. So he had a long wait as well. Dick Night Train Lane. Had 14 sacks in 12 games. And I think that they went back and did this because sacks weren't an official stat back then. But he holds that record. Chris Carter, despite an error just before the passing explosion, he still ranks 6th all times in catches, 4th in touchdowns. I think, but the one thing is in the NFL, the way that they were doing things with a lot of their, with a lot of what they're doing here, a lot of times they didn't elect 2 wide receivers in that group, that class. It would be one or the other. So a lot of the times what you saw here was, okay, well, Chris Carter and this person, well, this person's been waiting, he gets in. So that's the same thing what they're doing here with Bill Belichick. Joe Gibbs, his first 12-year run as the coach in Washington, went 124-60, went to the playoffs 8 times, had just 1 losing season, and he won 3 Super Bowls. He returned for a 4-year run, added 2 more postseason trips, and he was voted into the Hall of Fame between those stints. Michael Strahan, Frank Tarkenton, you see there already, became the single-season sack king in 2001 with 22.5. Had 141.5 sacks in 15 seasons. Yeah, that made no sense. Frank Tarkenton, one of the first dual threat quarterbacks, dominant, 47,003 passing yards, despite playing in a league that focused on running the ball more, especially in the NFL, because the AFL did kind of pass the ball a little bit more. Bill Walsh, how that happened, I don't know. But you can argue, well, Bill Walsh didn't get it, then yeah, you can't do Bill Belichick either. He pioneered the West Coast offense, 92, 59, and 1, 10 and 4 in the playoffs. He won 3 Super Bowls with them. And this is the one that I cited the most. And this was just because T.O. was T.O. The most egregious Hall snub until this week. Second all-time receiving charts, 15,134 yards, 153 touchdown catches. Third, yeah, I mean, some of the numbers are crazy. And then you see Bill Belichick there, number 1 there. You got some names there that did end up getting snubbed. Some of them I'm not as familiar with, but like for example, I didn't realize Marvin Harrison wasn't in, but that could have been the legal problems that he had in Philadelphia. May have also been, well, this wide receiver's been waiting. He has to wait. They couldn't do both. A lot of political BS they had there. So that was probably what happened. I mean, that's what's happened. Somebody did mention, oh, well, Belichick's got to wait. This is penance for what he did in the Spygate and Deflategate. But Armando Salguero, who's the senior NFL writer on Outkick, he's also a Hall of Fame voter. He was the one who presented Belichick to the Hall subcommittee, and that selected him to advance to the full 50-member selection body. Salguero also presented Belichick to the full selectors committee in a meeting on January 15th or 13th. Salguero is among the voters who selected Belichick and are urging the others to reveal themselves. Salguero wrote in his column, they should identify themselves as the people who kept Belichick out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. I'm saying that here and would say as much to their face. Their votes sunk Belichick's chances and embarrassed the Hall of Fame in the process. Agreed. But you also got a difficult process. I mean, and you got a weird setup too, because you have coaches, contributors, and senior players in one group of votes. It doesn't make sense to me, but but we don't know. I mean, but the thing is, when they do this vote, they don't necessarily say he got 41 out of 50. This isn't like Major League Baseball where you need to get 75% of the votes, and they'll tell you after the fact. Like, for example, Chase Utley got 60-some% of the vote. So he's probably next in line, other than Buster Posey, to get into the Hall of Fame. And I think Utley gets in next year, barring anything unforeseen, because you also have a very weak first-time ballot. But the way that they have this is a little weird to me, but there's and one thing that did come up was, we did mention Bill Polian's name on Tuesday night because he was with the Indianapolis Colts. Well, now ESPN's original report, and this I got from Fox Sports as well, Polian is a former Indianapolis Colts general manager and a current Hall of Fame voter. And he's also a Hall of Famer. Now, it was reported to have told voters that Belichick should have to wait a year due to Spygate. Polian's later denied saying that, but he told ESPN that he heard other voters float the idea. Polian was the scapegoat for the committee. And there's 50 voters. You need 40 to get into the Hall of Fame in this group. Now, Polian is a Hall of Famer himself, and he also works for Sirius XM, so he gets an opportunity to vote. Polian said he did vote for Belichick. The Pro Football Hall of Fame has confirmed that fact through the auditors of the selection process. Again, I'll state that I've never said that I believe that Coach Belichick should wait a year for enshrinement. This has been confirmed by the Pro Football Hall of Fame, numerous selectors who were in the room, and my vote for Coach Belichick. So all of a sudden now, we have to deal with, who who are the 11 plus people that did not vote for him? I'll show you another one in a little bit, but I'll show you somebody who didn't vote in a moment. Pauline said, as a Hall of Fame member and selector, I realized the import of what we do. I think that's supposed to be the importance. I've always tried as a selector to make these difficult choices with the utmost objectivity. I've said on Sirius XM radio and numerous other media outlets, I believe Coach Belichick to be a full first-time Hall of Famer. My vote confirms that. The report was not the only reason Pauline became such a feasible scapegoat. It's also the history of the contention between the Colts and the Patriots. I mean, New England had their rivals with the rivalries with the Ravens. They had the Jets, even though the Jets petered out and became the LOL Jets. But the rivalry was fierce because it always seemed like the AFC Championship game was Colts and Patriots. The first iteration of the rivalry had the Brady-Peyton Manning duel at its center, but Manning, Coach Dungy, and Bill Polian, who was the GM at the time, were often on the losing side of things. From 1998 to 2011, which they deemed the Polian era, Patriots are 11-6 in the regular season and 2-1 in the postseason against the Colts. And one time they lost was when they lost in Indianapolis, I believe, and Indy went on to win the Super Bowl that year over the Bears. At least I think that's the case. The rivalry between New England and Indianapolis went off the field as well. The Colts were one of the teams that suffered from Belichick's Spygate scandal, with the Patriots illegal videotaping opponents' signs, including Indy. But we don't have proof of it because of the fact that all the video was destroyed. Now, Polian also engineered a rule change in 2004 that limited defensive back contact with receiver, which was dubbed the Ty Law rule. That rule adjustment traced directly back to a postseason game during which Law and the Patriots got extremely physical with the Colts receivers, particularly downfield. And then the Patriots played the Colts when that was the Deflategate game. But Polian played zero role in that. It just simply increased the rivalry and dislike between Belichick's Patriots and the Colts. And I think it was like a couple of players were, like the one thing that you do a lot of times, and I mean, it's a dumb rule, the ball and deflating the ball, but a lot of the issue with this was basically, more than anything else, it was the fact that Tom Brady would not give his phone to the NFL. So, but now, if Polian did in fact vote for him, for Belichick, then, he unfairly got that scapegoat. But one other thing here, Vahe Gregorian of the Kansas City Star, he revealed himself Wednesday as one of the voters that did not vote for Belichick. And I think his reasoning, kind of makes sense. He directed his opinion toward the voting process and curious selection dynamics based on illogical candidate groupings. He said he did not vote against Belichick or Patriots owner Robert Kraft. It's kind of like, And I'm not turning this into political stuff, but it's like, well, why did you vote for this particular candidate? Well, it's not because, I voted because I don't like this other person, or this person is, you know, incapable of the job. Like, for example, a lot of the people that voted for Kamala Harris, voted for Joe Biden, voted for Hillary Rodham Clinton, is because they felt that Trump did not deserve to be president, not, everything that they said about, but, and we're going to stop there because with the political stuff, because this is not about politics. I'm trying to prove a point here that sometimes people vote because I don't want him getting the job, that sort of thing. But so Gregorian directed his opinion toward the voting process and the curious selection dynamics based on logical candidate groupings. He voted for the three senior candidates, Ken Anderson, Roger Craig, and Elsie Greenwood. He said you could call that rationalizing, I suppose. And I'm suddenly reminded of the fortune cookie wisdom that you should never try to explain, since your friends don't need it and your enemies wouldn't believe it anyway. I mean, also with me, I'm like, well, why did who'd you vote for? I tell people I voted for none of the above. Why is that? You piss off everybody. You don't need to know who I voted for. And the reasoning that Gregorian gave was it had nothing to do with the Flakegate or Spygate. Perhaps that affected some voters, the controversies that Belichick had. Perhaps that affected some voters, perhaps some not. I can't and won't try to speak for others, and it's a condition of being a voter to not divulge the deliberations. But the so-called cheating stuff is not at all the only possible explanation, because it certainly didn't ultimately influence my vote. I think that's fair. He has a reason why, and the thing is, you're never going to hear, or very rarely going to hear, that someone only received 49 of 50 votes, or in this case did not get, well, you'll know someone didn't get 40 of the 50 votes. But you also hear that certain people get certain votes. So, but you do have, but this is starting to turn to Major League Baseball, or, oh, you got to be transparent now. No, they don't. As long as he broke the threshold of 40, just tell me you got in. Baseball's a little bit different because you got over 400 voters and you need 75% and all that. But, and like, for example, Ichiro should have been unanimous. He wasn't by one vote. And that voter never revealed himself. Now, the way that this worked, and, the category and grouping is a little weird to me, because you have coaches, contributors, and senior players. You would vote for 3 of the 5 finalists, and you had to get 80%, 40 out of 50. So, but but the question I have is, even though I doubt it happens, what happens if, let's say, Bill Belichick next year, I doubt it, because he is getting older, or even this year, because you still have 2 job openings. What happens if he gets the Raiders job? Now he's not eligible for the ballot, kind of like the way Phillip Rivers, who was probably going to get into the Hall of Fame, all of a sudden became ineligible because he came back. Interesting thought there, at least. Now, Belichick's old team is in the big game in 10 days. And since they are the designated home team, because the NFC is the home team in the odd-numbered Super Bowls. So last year, the Eagles were the home team. This year, the AFC is the designated home team, and that is the New England Patriots. And in the NFL, whether it's a regular season game, a preseason game, or the playoffs, the home team gets to choose what uniforms to wear. Like, for example, if you have to play in Miami and Tampa Bay in the early part of the season, you know they're going to pick the white jerseys, especially if they're going to be playing during the day. When the sun is beating down on you, it's about 90, 95 degrees. Kind of like what Tampa Bay did to the Eagles the last 2 years. Oh, you got to play us at the end of September, week 4? Yeah, we're going to make you wear those midnight green jerseys. Yeah, we're doing that. And, it's not only, little home field advantage. Also, you make your opponent as uncomfortable as possible standing out there in the heat. Kind of like how with the redo of Hard Rock Stadium, the Dolphins are on the shade side, the opponents are on the sunny side. So first couple of months of the season, the opponents bake in the sun. Now, granted, Dolphins have to start winning to make that a true home advantage, but you get the idea. But in terms of this game, and this is something that, sometimes you hear, sometimes you don't, but so the Patriots had the honor of picking what uniforms they want to wear because they're the designated home team. So, well, first, before I reveal that, the two teams will be wearing a special USA 250 patch to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States. Roger Goodell announced in November that the league would be celebrating the country's 250th birthday throughout 2026. And it says here it'll start on Super Bowl Sunday, but it's actually started because if you noticed on some of the games, they did have America 250 painted into the white areas of the out of bounds area. So they are already acknowledging it. Now, they'll probably have a logo painted onto the field mid-season. I'm imagining they may even have an America 250 logo potentially with the Super Bowl in 10 days. I don't know. We'll find out next week. But, so, they're more worried about getting the colors in there and the NFL logo and all that. But I imagine the USA 250 logo is going to be somewhere on the field as well. So that patch will be on there. Also, the Patriots have decided to wear a uniform combination that they've never worn in the big game. And it'll look familiar to you because it was exactly the same as what they wore in Denver, white on white. And it's the first time that they're going with this combination, mainly because they didn't have white pants available, I don't think. Or if they did, it was with the blue uniforms, but they never went one way. And, over the past 20 years, the pants have become interchangeable with the jerseys and not necessarily, not back in the day where, you know, if you wore white, you wore dark pants, you know, just the way that they did the uniforms. But now the Patriots have worn white before, and they're 4-2 in Super Bowls when they're wearing a white jersey. But they're not wearing. It's the first time that they're wearing all white. They're 4-2 in Super Bowls with their white jersey, and that includes a win over the Seahawks back in Super Bowl 49. Now they've worn. Where is it here? They have. They're 4-1 when they wear. They wore 5 of the games they wore white jerseys with blue pants, and 1 game where they wore white jersey with silver pants. So they've never wore white on white. I don't think they had white pants until a couple of years ago when they did this latest iteration of their uniform. Now, this is the first time in 5 years that the home team in the Super Bowl has worn white. The AFC is the home team in the even number games I mentioned. The last time the home team wore white was in 2020, and that was when Tom Brady's Buccaneers chose to wear white for the Super Bowl over the Chiefs in the COVID season. Now, part of the reason why they did that is because they had to win 3 games on the road, so they were wearing their white uniforms. So, hey, we'll just wear our white uniforms again. Now, the Patriots are 6-0 in their white uniforms this year. 5 of the games that they wore white on white. Now, an interesting point here, the team that's worn white has gone 16-5 in the last 21 games. Just coincidence. But the team in white has lost the last 2 Super Bowls, which could be good news for the Seahawks, who are expected to wear their navy blue jerseys, although they haven't made an official announcement yet. Now, the thing is, I don't think they can wear their alternate jerseys, because I think they have to wear their regular, what is their dark jersey. It's just a matter, are they going to wear blue pants and go all blue, or are they going to go blue with silver pants? So, but the Seahawks are 0-2 in navy blue. They lost to the Steelers 21-10 in Super Bowl 40. They lost to the Patriots 28-24 in Super Bowl 49. Now, they wore blue pants in both of their Super Bowl losses, so that could change things up by wearing their gray pants. The Seattle victory, they wore Seattle Super Bowl victory was at the Meadowlands. They wore the white uniforms. That was because Denver was the home team. They chose to wear their home jerseys, and they lost. So, just some random stuff there. So, and if Mike makes it up here Monday night, that's going to be weather permitting. We'll see. I'll be looking over some of the props there, especially if he's here, because we can get his point of view on some of the things there. So also, I do want to remind you, Also Eligible is live Saturday morning, 10 a.m. And I closed out. Oh, yeah. I know why. Okay. So Saturday morning, I'll be live. Just testing one thing here before we go here, because, okay, good, it worked. So I'll be live Saturday morning on most of these same channels. Hopefully I can resolve the Twitch issue that I had. Got some news here. We're going to be going strictly Gulfstream on Saturday. That is because Aqueduct has canceled. Aqueduct canceled today because for the weekend, because of the extreme cold that continues to grip this area of the country, and basically most of the country as well. But so hopefully we will get things all squared away. It may also mean that I may go up to New York next weekend. Now, this was from let me pull this up here. It's not what I wanted. So this is from David Grenning of the Daily Racing Forum. And I texted AJ right away. We'll be looking at Gulfstream here. Oaklawn will be on Friday, so maybe they do something on Saturday. Maybe they may do it on Friday. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Friday would work good for me, but this is what David Grenning had to say on night. This is what David Grenning had to say as we go back to me here. This is what David Grenning had to say about 6 o'clock tonight, give or take a few minutes. He said, weekend racing canceled at Aqueduct. Makeup days for stakes will likely be announced tomorrow. So, and, some comments here. Damn, I was going, ugh. Well, I was going until I saw it was going to be cold all week. Matthew Grill says, for all those Tapeta enthusiasts, cold and wind cancels almost all the cards, not track condition. That's fair, and it's a matter of getting to the track as well. When it comes to Charlestown, Charlestown moved their post up to 2 o'clock so that they can try to get their card in. So we'll see what happens with that. Of course, how much does a roof cost? Being a smart ass, but little things like that. So Schoolyard Superman will have to wait to get some points to get to the Derby. That's a 20-point race to Withers, going 1 1/8 miles. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, the town ran today, and I am going to show you that race here. As soon as I can find it, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to show you this race here. This was the opening race at Gulfstream today. The town is a 7-horse. And I'm going to play this for you. I'm going to mute my microphone here so you guys can hear Pete Aiello. And I'll let you let you know what happened today. So here we go. And the town goes off as the 2-1 favorite.
Ten races in total today. Tracks are fast. Turf is firm. We're set for a start. Racing at Gulfstream. Good start in between horses for Rariana, who heads off for some forward position. Out the center, here's High Leverage, first timer, good to go. In between horses, Nickel C along the inside, Gus Swayze, and the run past the wire the first time. Leo's Rocket moves up on the far outside. In between horses, Dr. Jekyll. Vacationer is at the inside. Far outside, Noble Pete, then it's back to Sir Guinness ahead of the Town and Rariana, and Coach Kane is last. Around the first turn they go, chasing Javier Castellano and Gus Swayze. They have the lead by a length and a quarter. High Leverage is there second. Nickel C parks in a good spot third at the rail for Kyle Gaffleone. From fourth, it's Leo's Rocket. Back to fifth, it's Chirac from Dr. Jekyll, who's an early sixth. Wide on the outside is Noble Pete, then it's Vacationer. Back from there, it's Sir Guinness. He works between horses. Rariana moves up inside of the Town, and Coach Kane has the best view. Last of the 12 behind an opening quarter of 22-1 and a 47-2 half mile. It's Gus Swayze who heads into the far turn on top. High Leverage. The nearest pursuer second. Nickel C has had a sweet trip, and he's third at the inside. Up to the outside, that's Leo's Rocket. In between horses, Dr. Jekyll. Sirach's along the rail. Then it's Sir Guinness, launched to the clear by Egan to launch a bid while 5 lengths off the lead. Vacationer is next. Light Blue of the Town. He's now angled to the outside to get his rally together with Rariana and Coach Kane toward the back as they run to the top of the stretch. Gaffleone trying to get through inside. The door slammed a little bit, and he slammed into Gus Swayze, fanning everybody else out, but Nickel C got through. Eighth of a mile to go. It's Nickel C in front. Now it's unseating the rider with Sir Guinness as they come home for the finish. It's Nickel C who has the lead. The Town's into second. Nickel C wins. Nickel C beats the Town. Into third was Dr. Jekyll. Fourth was Sirach. There'll be a steward's inquiry looking at the top of the stretch and another inquiry looking at the run past the 8th pole.
I left my mic on. Oops. So if that got a little bit messed, the sound got a little weird there. I apologize. So we had 2 incidents there. The winner bumped into the 4. Stewards took no action. And they also looked at the Town from when that horse there that was to the outside of him, when he was veering out to make a run, the 11 veered in at the same time. They collided, and the 11 lost the jockey. Jockey's fine, obviously, because if the horse was not okay, and the jockey was not okay, at the very least, they would edit that part out, that 5-second period, or the race would be totally unavailable. But since that was just a minor thing where the horse was fine, the jockey was fine, and Pete Aiello said, I think he said towards the end of the race, if not, he said it after the race, that the jockey got up on his own and was fine. No action was taken as well. Now, the reason why nothing was done with the Town versus the 11 was because they equally bumped into each other and no one was the cause over the other. So as a result, no action was taken. So the 8 did win. The Town is still a maiden, but I talked to AJ afterwards because he called me late this afternoon, and he said that this horse has no luck. 2 bad starts out of the gate, and then he had that race last time out where he had the rail, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that. I have a workaround with that. Where is it? Let me find it for you. Well, he wasn't. Well, he had a better start, but he was closer to the pace. And I don't think he liked it. And also, he tried to make a move 5 wide like he did before. It's just that he was weaving around all over the place, didn't know what to do. This time, going 2 turns again, we saw what happened with that. So no buyer speed figure as of yet. No, but he lost by a length and a quarter. May have a future on the turf. I don't know, but he did have a it just seems like 3 of the 4 races he's had trouble. The first 2 races was getting out of the gate. It appears they figured the get out of the gate part. It's just that he doesn't want to run right away, but he knows. I think he's smart enough to know when go time is. It's just that now it's bad luck. And, just seems like, it just seems like fate saying, no, you're not going to win. But it'd be interesting to see what's up with him next. So, and I said, maybe you keep him on the turf, whatever, But then on top of that, about an hour after AJ called me, Aqueduct canceled racing for the weekend, as I showed you. So it's canceled due to extreme cold. Saturday's 10-race card consisted of 4 stakes, topped by the Withers, where Schoolyard Superman was running in. No makeup dates for that race or 3 other stakes races on the programs were announced. They also need to find a new date for the Interborough Stakes, which was previously scheduled for the 24th. That was the snow day last week. Or it was cold leading up to the snow. So NYRA's consulting with its Horsemen's Group and New York breeders to come up with a schedule that would likely add makeup dates in the coming weeks. Any additional days require approval for New York Gaming Commission. NYRA was scheduled to have a 3-day race week beginning the 3rd week of February. There had not been live racing since January 23rd, which was last Friday. Both the last weekend's cards are canceled due to cold, and on Sunday, the snowstorm. With Arctic temperatures and brutal wind chills continually forecasted, NYRA announced on Monday that was not going to race Wednesday through Friday. They did take entries for Saturday and Sunday with the hopes of racing, but the temperatures are still too cold. They took entries for next Wednesday already, and they plan to race 5 days next week, weather permitting. So, and they're probably going to announce tomorrow, according to David Gretting, what that day will be. And I told AJ here, and whether this is the case or not, we'll wait and see. The one thing I said is, when you have a top-notch trainer like Schoolyard Superman has in Chad Brown, he has a string in Florida, a string in New York, and a couple of different spots as well. So it's very possible, even though you'll just run in the Withers, because, the Withers, the New York circuit, especially this time of the year, you do kind of get that, the toughest opponent in a lot of cases here is the weather, as we're finding out. But, you do have tough horses that run there, but it's just that when April comes around and they want the full 100 points, yeah, they are going to get that done. So they're going to come up for the points and, take advantage of the the cooler air, which is, it's warming up, but compared to Florida, it's not as warm in most cases, but you do have that. So I did say to him, it's, I don't know. I mean, he would know more than I would with what the plans are with this horse, because he'll get emails from the group that he bought into. I said with him, I said with this horse, do they want to keep him in New York? Yeah, sure. So I'm not going to deny that fact. But with a trainer like Chad Brown is the trainer, right? Let me just make sure here. Let me just make sure I got this right here. Yeah, it is a Chad Brown horse. Okay. So when you have one of these top-notch trainers like a Chad Brown, you can actually, if you feel like, hey, we want to get a race in, there's no guarantee. Like, you look at the weather for next weekend as of right now, and I'm sure they're looking at this because it's like, well, do we want to do this or not? Well, guess what? There's a possibility of a wintry mix as of right now for next Saturday. Now, a lot of people say, oh, not again. Well, I'll just say this. That's 10 days away. Things can change so much. Like, for example, I was seeing that next week, like this weekend, I was seeing for this weekend when we were about 8, 9, 10 days out, they were looking at a monster storm. Well, guess what? It's going to hit Virginia and North Carolina and then go out to sea and not affect us, especially here in Philadelphia. Whereas down the shore may get a little dusting here or there, but in terms of what we're getting, Philly's getting nothing. But I said, here's the races next week. You're not going to go to Oaklawn because that race is already full. They just moved the race, the card, and all the horses into the thing and kept everything as is, I believe. So you got that. So you're not going there. Now, I don't know if he's entered in the if he was nominated for Tampa Bay Downs. That's a 20-point race. So there are options. But I did not deny the fact that, hey, you're going to make that decision. They're going to make that decision what they feel is the best decision. So Schoolyard Superman won't be running this weekend because Aqueduct will not be running. So that's the case there. Now, one horse that will not be running in the near future is Ted Nafi. And that was the horse that won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, was the favorite to the early favorite for the Kentucky Derby. He's out. He's got some bone bruising. He's off the Triple Crown Trail after developing bone bruising. He'll be at Stone Street Farm in Ocala, Florida for 90 days. Trainer Todd Pletcher said, I wasn't happy with the way he was moving the last couple of days. We sent him for evaluation. He got some bone bruising. Going to give him 90 days off. So, so he won all 4 of his starts as a 2-year-old. Began with a maiden race at Saratoga. He won the Hopeful, which was a Grade 1 win. The Breeders' Cup Futurity Keeneland, and then the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Del Mar. So he returned to the work tab on January 16th at Palm Beach Downs and breezed twice as he was beginning preparations for the Fountain of Youth on February 28th. So he is off the trail, and and this is something that happens a lot in these. It happens every year. You get these horses that we think that are the super horse, and then all of a sudden, boom, something happens. So, but that's why you run the races, and you'd rather have something minor pop up now where you can worry about the rest of the year or whatever you got plans for this horse, as opposed to running him out there and the next thing you know he's breaking down, and then everybody's got their panties in a bunch because all the animal activists because of this, that, and the other thing. But they're well taken care of, especially these top-notch horses, and we'll see what happens. So we're going to be all Gulfstream on Saturday. Hopefully I'll be back on Twitch, because for whatever reason it was not working tonight, and sometimes these glitches do happen. So, but we'll be live and on Saturday morning. If not, join me Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and hopefully Mike will be here. And I know we'll definitely be looking over some of the proposition wagers that come up here for the Super Bowl next weekend. So that is it for tonight. I do appreciate each and every one of you, and hopefully I'll be back on Twitch on Saturday. So I do appreciate each and every one of you. Let's do it live on Saturday. If not, let's do it on Monday night. Twitch.tv/Joe Quills. Follow me, subscribe, and get everything squared away. So have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you guys in the winner's circle.